5:33. Peace has been declared between Azerbaijan and Armenia. A conflict over the ethnically Armenian Nagorno-Karabakh enclave in Azerbaijan has been bubbling really since the 1980s. The broker of this peace agreement then, President Donald J. Trump. So what went right for these groups, for these two nations? Was Trump the key ingredient? And can he be the key ingredient when he meets Vladimir Putin tomorrow in Alaska? Have a listen to this. Here's the Azerbaijani ambassador to the UK, Suleymanov.
For 30 years, even before both Azerbaijan and Armenia became independent, we've been locked in this conflict with each other. Yes, the active phase ended in 1994. Then there was a war in 2020 and military activities in 2023. But these 30 years defined who we were to conflict. And now we have a real chance to move beyond that, to put it all behind and become neighbors and partners as we should have been from the very beginning. So I think it's very important. And for me, for instance, personally, that's what brought us all to diplomacy. From the first days of being a diplomat, a junior diplomat, I've always dealt with the conflict. And I'm very much looking forward to the day when we will not have to do that. And to be honest, I was a member of the UN High Commission for Refugees. I've seen the displaced people. I've spent some time in Azerbaijan with, children who were born in exile and all this. And I'm very happy to see that, not only that they're going back, but there will be peace. And the reason which led to their, suffering, to their displacement, hopefully will not be around anymore.
Yeah. What would you say about President Trump's role in all of this? With what you've just said in mind, is it fair to say that Trump was the missing ingredient, that he was essential to this?
Yes, and I think there are two main ingredients. One is that under the leadership of President Aliyev, Azerbaijan has successfully liberated its territories, internationally recognized territories in 2020. So the main cracks, the very reason for the conflict was resolved and removed. But also, of course, looking at the overall international community political will, it was important to have a peacemaker and a deal maker like Donald Trump, like President Trump, to put his own weight on the scale and make things move forward. I think definitely I don't know if he was a missing ingredient, but he's definitely a very important ingredient of the story.
The last peace agreement between Azerbaijan and Armenia was mediated by Vladimir Putin. Russia wasn't directly involved in this particular arrangement. Is that intentional? Is that a deliberate exclusion of Russia and of Putin?
Well, there was no peace agreement. It was a trilateral statement at the end, which ended the hostilities. So it was a very temporary measure. And in every case, the peace agreement, which by the way has not been signed, has been initiated by the foreign ministers in presence of President Trump, President Aliyev, and Prime Minister Pashinyan. It's yet to be signed completely. Was negotiated directly between Azerbaijan and Armenia, between two sides. This is the United States have not been involved in negotiating the text of the agreement itself. But President Trump witnessed the signing of the joint declaration. He witnessed the initialing of the agreement, and he was the person who invited the leaders to the White House. No, nobody ever excluded anybody. I mean, in fact, it benefits Russia quite well. It's just the President Trump has shown particular interest and initiative, and nobody excluded anybody.
Yeah, sure. In what ways does it benefit Russia?
Well, the technical things. The Prime Minister of Armenia, and I'll quote him, just said on US TV that there are some very tangible benefits for Russia. For instance, Russia will get direct railway connection to Armenia and a railway connection to Iran for the first time. So all of this is very positive for Russia. In general, if you look beyond knee-jerk reaction and ideological narratives, wouldn't that benefit Russia that it has a neighborhood where there is no war, economic development, when it prospers and it can participate in that prosperity, when two of its neighbors, Azerbaijan is a neighbor, Armenia is a partner, are now in peace and do not pose any threat of instability or insecurity to the region, why wouldn't that benefit Russia?
Yeah. I just find it interesting that President Trump has coordinated a peace deal that is of benefit to Russia at this moment in time.
President Trump, first of all, coordinated a peace deal which is in the interest of Armenia, Azerbaijan, and overarching interest of the United States. It also is in the interest of Russia. So I think overall, that's the trick. That's a good thing when we say the stars align. But it all depends how you look at it. I would say anybody and everybody can benefit, but you need to will. You need to will that. You need to be willing to benefit. For instance, this deal has always been in the interest of Armenia, but it took Armenia a long time to get around it. So, I mean, it's in the interest of Russia as well. Not primarily. It is in the interest of Russia, of course, as well. But I don't think that was the biggest intention of anybody.
Yeah. You mentioned that this is still to sort of be totally and finally concluded. I believe there's a constitutional amendment in Armenia as a final barrier as well. What steps still need to happen in order for this to be a reality?
The simple fact is that the text of the agreement, which was initialed, and the reference in the Armenian constitution to the territories of Azerbaijan are not reconcilable. They contradict each other. So we expect our Armenian neighbors to reconcile those two things. And as soon as it's done, as soon as there's no territorial claim against Azerbaijan in the Armenian constitution, then, of course, it will be signed.
Yeah. With all of this in mind, Ambassador, I wonder if I can ask, the story of the week, of course, for this week, is that Trump is heading to a summit with Putin in Alaska on Friday. Based on what you have witnessed, what you know about how Trump is working for peace in your context, do you think he can be the one to bring peace for Ukraine?
You know, I served in Washington as ambassador for a decade. And I witnessed President Trump and his team working very hard on Abraham Accords. And when, many people did not believe that Abraham Accords would be possible to sign. So the situation between Russia and Ukraine is different. It's active warfare. We see, people being killed every day, the large-scale attacks. So it's different. And of course, the scale of Russia and Ukraine is different versus Azerbaijan and Armenia. Those are different issues. But at the same time, I think we should give President Trump a chance. I mean, he is a peacemaker. He genuinely believes in peace. That's what I believe. That's what I've witnessed. So I think, let's see what comes out. I mean, trying to stop the war, trying to stop the suffering and dying and destruction is always better than not to.
Yeah. I would just wonder if he will take a similar approach as to how he struck peace between Armenia and Azerbaijan or not, whether that will work with Putin, whether he needs to be a different character in the room on Friday.
It's hard to say.
Yeah.
I would leave it to President Trump. He knows things much better than I do, of course, sitting here. But don't forget that in case of Azerbaijan and Armenia, the crux of the problem has been resolved. For quite some time, there have been no military activity. And both President of Azerbaijan, and I have to say, Prime Minister of Armenia as well, have been willing to move forward with the peace agreement. I think that is the second ingredient of success, or the first ingredient of success, with President Trump's presence being first or second. I mean, I don't want to gauge that.
Sure.
So President Trump is there. His willingness is there. His desire for peace is there. Let's see what happens on the other side.
You mentioned a few moments ago, Ambassador, that you had been in Washington and that you had witnessed the work done on the Abraham Accords, which was this sort of diplomatic normalization between Israel and several Arab states, mediated by President Trump. How do you now view the situation in the Middle East, given that there is no longer peace between Israel and Gaza, and this suggestion actually that in Ukraine there could be the idea of a West Bank-style occupation of Ukraine in order to bring peace there? Just to tie all of these things together, how would you analyse that suggestion?
Well, Let's separate two things. Abraham Accords is an issue of normalization between the state of Israel and a number of Arab states which were not engaged in a direct conflict with Israel, which was a very important step forward, and I think it's a historic achievement, and it continues to stand as a historic achievement, despite all the difficulties and horrors of what's happening today in Gaza. Of course, the situation is terrible. People are dying every day. We do hope that there's a peace, beginning of a ceasefire agreement as soon as possible, because this needs to be stopped. Azerbaijan has always spoken in favor of two-state solutions. We don't see another option. We believe that the two-state solution with the Jewish state and the Palestinian states living next to each other in peace is the only way forward. We don't see another. I can't imagine another way forward at the moment. So I think that's a different issue. As for occupation as a way of peace, occupation has never produced peace. Occupations always produce conflict and fighting at some point. So we have to be careful, and we need to act from the fundamentals of international law.
Azerbaijan's ambassador to the UK, Suleymanov, one of those who has witnessed President Trump bringing peace. Perhaps he will go on to do so again over the course of this weekend. Your thoughts are very welcome, of course. Do keep in touch.